You know, every once in a while, you hear a story from the medical world that's more than just a case study. It's a real gut punch of a lesson learned the hard way. And today, we're going to dive into one of those exact moments, a mistake a junior doctor made that tells us something fundamental about medicine, about communication, and maybe most importantly, about trust. It all kicks off right here, at 1:30 in the morning, that strange, quiet hour when a hospital feels like it's holding its breath. This isn't just a time on a clock, it's a mood. It's the perfect setting for a test that nobody saw coming. So this is where our story really begins. Right in the middle of what feels like a totally routine night shift, a single phone call is about to change everything for a young, exhausted doctor. I want you to just picture the scene for a second. You're a new intern, it's only your second week on night float. You're just starting to get the rhythm. The normal chaos of the day is gone, the halls are empty, the floor is quiet. There's this weird sense of calm. And then the phone rings. And that's the call from the nurse. It is direct, it is urgent, and it's pretty much every resident's nightmare scenario. A patient is trying to leave against medical advice, or AMA. And he's not just thinking about it. Nope. His bags are already packed. He wants out now. The clock is officially ticking. And look, the stakes here could not be higher. We're not talking about a patient with a minor issue who's just fed up. Mr. Carter has uncontrolled diabetes, a really serious foot infection, he's still running a fever, and he is literally physically connected to an IV line. For him to walk out that door right now, it could be an absolute catastrophe. So the young doctor heads down the hall toward the room, probably running through a script in his head, thinking he can just talk the patient down. But what happens next? Well, that's the moment this whole story pivots. And right here, this is the real problem. Mr. Carter isn't just being stubborn or difficult. He is scared. He's frustrated, and he feels completely invisible. His words say it all. I don't trust this care. No one's telling me anything. This is a total breakdown in communication, not just some medical disagreement. So in that high-pressure moment, staring down an angry patient, the intern's mind just goes blank. He skips the most essential diagnostic checklist. Is the patient confused because of a medical reason, like a sodium imbalance, which can literally mess with your brain function? Is he even capable of making this decision right now? And maybe most importantly, the doctor never stops to ask this simplest but most powerful question of all. What do you need? Instead of doing any of that, he did this. He reached for the paperwork. He basically treated a human cry for help like it was a logistical problem that needed a form. He saw the form as the solution when really it was the symbol of his failure to connect. And that's really the question at the heart of this whole thing, isn't it? Because in that moment, the patient didn't just sign a piece of paper and walk out of a hospital. He walked away from a doctor who wasn't truly seeing him as a person. Okay, so the next morning comes, the sun is up, and the reality of the situation hits like a ton of bricks. Now we're going to dissect exactly what went wrong, not just emotionally, but procedurally. This is the anatomy of a mistake. Imagine hearing these questions from your attending physician. They are sharp, they are precise, and each one is like a laser pointer aimed at a specific critical failure in the protocol. This isn't just an interrogation. It's a postmortem on an error that was totally preventable. And the answer to every single one of those questions was no. He hadn't just missed one step. He'd completely bypassed the entire system that's designed to protect both the patient and the doctor in exactly this kind of situation. So what does that system actually look like? If you ever find yourself in this kind of situation, what is the right way to handle it? Well, it turns out there's a clear 5-step protocol. And here it is, the 5-step AMA protocol. Think of this as the playbook that our young doctor, well, he didn't even open it. And it's designed to protect absolutely everyone involved. So let's walk through what each of these steps really means and, more importantly, why each one matters so much. Okay, step 1 is huge, and crucially, it happens before you even walk into the patient's room. You have to check for things like encephalopathy, which is really just a fancy term for any state where the brain isn't working right, or a psychiatric history. This isn't about judging the patient. It's about making sure they have the medical, legal, and ethical capacity to make a potentially life or death decision. This is the step that replaces just handing them a form. It's about putting the clipboard down, maybe pulling up a chair, and just listening. Seriously, most of the time, the patient doesn't actually want to leave. What they want, what they're desperate for, is to be heard.
to be understood, to feel respected. This one act can de-escalate the entire thing because it addresses the real problem, which is usually fear or frustration. All right, next step. You don't have to be a hero. In fact, you shouldn't be. Escalating the situation to your senior physician isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. You're bringing in a fresh perspective, more experience, and you're sharing the legal and ethical burden. And if the patient still decides to leave, you have a duty to make that exit as safe as possible. That means managing their medications for the transition out of the hospital. And finally, documentation. Now, this isn't just about covering your own butt. It's about creating a crystal clear, factual record that you inform the patient of the specific risks. You could lose your foot, this infection could spread, you could die, and that they were able to explain those risks back to you. It's the final, formal proof that you respected their autonomy while fulfilling your duty to care.
So, let's go back to our young doctor, because the lesson he took away from that night went so much deeper than any 5-step protocol. It was something way more fundamental.
And wow, that's the whole story in one sentence, isn't it? That AMA form wasn't just paper. It was a symbol of a relationship that had completely broken down. The doctor realized that in his rush and his anxiety, he hadn't just discharged a patient. He had given up his responsibility to connect, to understand, and to truly care. And ultimately, this story isn't just for doctors. It's a powerful reminder for every single one of us. Whether you're dealing with a patient, a colleague, a friend, a family member, sometimes the most important thing we can do is just to stay present, to not reach for the easy paperwork solution, but to actually stop, listen, and be the one who truly sees the person standing right in front of you.